I'm Rodolfo, 35 years old, born into a family of successful restaurant owners with expectations heavier than industrial kitchen equipment. For years, I quietly developed my own business dream while smiling through family dinners filled with subtle digs about my career choices. Last week, I finally gathered the courage to message our family group chat. I'm opening my own business this weekend. Hope to see you there. My sister Amanda replied, "We're busy." My dad added, "Don't expect support from us." I just wrote, "All right." What they read in the newspaper the next morning made them lose it completely. Before I continue my story, if you're watching this from somewhere around the world, give this video a like and subscribe to follow my journey to success despite all odds. Growing up in an affluent Boston neighborhood shaped every aspect of my life. Our 5-bedroom colonial house on Beacon Street wasn't just a home. It was a statement of the Martinez family success story. My parents, Carlos and Sofia Martinez, were second-generation owners of Sabor Auténtico, a chain of high-end restaurants started by my grandparents who immigrated from Spain in the 1970s. In our family, the path was predetermined. Attend a prestigious college, earn a business degree, and join the family empire. My father repeated his mantra at every birthday dinner. Martinez blood means restaurant business. This wasn't just a career preference. It was our legacy, our identity, our obligation. My older sister Amanda, now 40, embraced this destiny wholeheartedly. The perfectionist firstborn, she memorized wine pairings by 12 and could calculate profit margins before high school. She became my father's shadow, his perfect protege. Every family gathering featured stories of Amanda's latest business triumph. Her innovative menu changes her skill at handling difficult customers with grace. The pride in my father's eyes when he looked at her was unmistakable. My younger brother Julian, 30, initially rebelled. His teenage years featured blue hair, a garage band, and declarations about becoming a musician. I still remember the explosive argument when he announced he wanted to attend music school instead of business college. 2 months of cold silence from our father ended with Julian enrolling in Cornell's business program. By 25, he was managing 3 restaurant locations and had abandoned his guitar for spreadsheets. His conformity was rewarded with a corner office at headquarters and a seat at important business meetings. And then there was me, the middle child, neither the perfect successor nor the reformed rebel. From an early age, I gravitated toward technology. While Amanda practiced knife skills in the kitchen and Julian reluctantly studied accounting, I built computers from spare parts and created my first primitive website at 13. My room was filled with circuit boards and coding books hidden between business textbooks. "Computers are tools, not careers," my father would say, dismissing my interests with a wave of his hand. Technology changes every day, but people will always need to eat. At Boston University, I officially studied business management to appease my parents, but secretly added computer science courses that didn't appear on the transcripts I showed them. Those classes, squeezed between required marketing and finance lectures, were where I felt truly alive. While my family thought I was at study group, I was often coding in the computer lab, developing my skills and dreaming of something different. The first major family rupture came after graduation. Amanda had started at headquarters immediately after college. Julian would follow the same path a few years later. Everyone assumed I would do the same, but I had applied for and received an offer from a local tech startup working on restaurant management software. I announced my decision at Sunday dinner, naively hoping they might see the connection to the family business. "It's still related to restaurants," I explained, passing the breadbasket to my stone-faced father. "I'll learn how technology can improve efficiency and customer experience." The silence that followed was broken by my father's fork clattering against his plate. "So you'll help other restaurants compete against your own family? Is that your plan?" My mother touched his arm gently. "Carlos, perhaps this could be valuable experience." But the damage was done. I took the job anyway, marking the beginning of years of strained family relations. Sunday dinners became exercises in endurance, filled with pointed questions about when I would stop playing with computers and accept my responsibilities. Every family gathering featured subtle digs. During Thanksgiving 3 years ago, as we sat around the ornate dining table, my father raised his glass in a toast to Amanda, who increased restaurant profits by 20% this year. then nodding to Julian. And to Julian, whose new marketing strategy brought in a younger demographic. When everyone looked at me, he simply said, "And to Rodolfo, who does whatever it is he does with those gadgets." The laughter around the table burned more than any direct criticism could have. 4 years into my tech career, I met Eliza at a mutual friend's dinner party. Unlike my family, she was fascinated by my ideas about how technology could transform the restaurant industry. An artist who had built her own online business selling paintings, she understood the entrepreneurial spirit that my family couldn't recognize in me. "Your family sees restaurants as buildings and recipes," she said one night as we walked along the Charles River. "You see them as experiences that can be enhanced and expanded through technology. That's not betrayal. It's evolution." With her encouragement, I began developing my own ideas more seriously. The seed of what would become my business began to grow, nurtured by late-night conversations with Eliza and weekends spent researching and planning. "You don't need their permission to succeed," became Eliza's gentle reminder whenever family gatherings left me doubting myself. After 7 years in the tech industry, having worked my way up to senior project manager at a respected software company, I made the decision. I would create my own business. Not another Martinez restaurant, but something that could potentially transform the entire industry. Something that was uniquely mine, but still honored the family's connection to food and hospitality. I just never expected that decision would lead to the complete fracturing of my family, before eventually opening a path to something deeper than the approval I had sought for so long. My revelation came on a rainy Tuesday while I was waiting 40 minutes for lukewarm pad thai that arrived nothing like the appetizing photo on the delivery app. As I picked through the disappointing meal, I called my friend Miguel, who owned a small Mexican restaurant in Cambridge. "These delivery apps are killing me," he complained. "They take 30% of every order. The drivers mishandle the food, and when customers are unhappy, my restaurant gets the bad reviews, not the delivery service." That conversation sparked something. For weeks, I interviewed restaurant owners, delivery drivers, and customers, discovering a system that wasn't working for anyone except the large tech companies that controlled the apps. Restaurants were losing money, drivers were underpaid, and customers received inconsistent quality. I began envisioning a different model, FlavorMatch, an AI-powered platform that would do more than just deliver food. It would create a community around local food, provide fair compensation for restaurants and drivers, and use machine learning to truly understand customer preferences. The concept evolved over 18 months of secretive development. Every evening after my day job, I would work until midnight or later researching, planning, and connecting with potential developers. Weekends disappeared into market research and financial projections. I drained my savings account to hire a small team of developers who believed in the vision. "This could revolutionize how restaurants and customers connect," said Amir, the lead developer, who took a chance on my idea, accepting equity instead of his usual consulting fee. "The personalization engine alone is more advanced than anything on the market." I found a small office space in a converted warehouse in Somerville, setting up operations far from the neighborhoods where my family members might randomly appear. The secrecy wasn't just about surprising them, it was self-preservation. I couldn't bear their criticism destroying this dream before it had a chance to prove itself. The platform had several key innovations. First, the personalization algorithm that learned user preferences at a granular level, not just like spicy food, but specifics. Like prefers medium spice in Thai food, but extra spicy in Mexican dishes. Second, a transparency model that showed customers exactly how much of their payment went to the restaurant, the driver, and the platform. Third, a community feature that connected customers directly with chefs through video content, recipes, and special events. The most radical element was the business model. Instead of charging restaurants high commissions, we developed a subscription model with minimal per-order fees. Restaurants kept more money, which they could pass on as better wages to staff or savings to customers. After a year of development, we conducted a small beta test with 20 local restaurants, including Miguel's place. The results exceeded even my optimistic projections. Order frequency increased 26%, customer satisfaction hit 92%. And restaurant owners reported an average 18% increase in profits compared to other delivery services. Even with these promising results, securing funding proved challenging. Without my family name to open doors in the Boston business community, I faced dozens of rejections. Finally, Diane Winters, a semi-retired tech executive who had built and sold 2 successful startups, saw the potential. "The food delivery space is crowded," she acknowledged during our 3rd meeting, "but everyone's replicating the same broken model. You're actually solving the real problems." I'm in for $500,000. Her investment wasn't enough for a national launch, but it would fund a proper rollout across Boston, with marketing, additional development, and operations support. If we could prove the concept at city scale, larger investment would follow. I found the perfect location for our headquarters, a small retail space, with a demonstration kitchen where restaurants could film content for the platform's community features. We renovated on a shoestring budget, with friends helping paint walls and assemble furniture on weekends. With everything finally coming together, I faced the moment I'd been both anticipating and dreading telling my family. Despite years of dismissal and underestimation, some childish part of me still hoped they might be proud, might see that I had created something valuable in my own way. I drafted and deleted the message dozens of times before settling on something simple: "I'm opening my own business this weekend. FlavorMatch, a new kind of food delivery platform. Grand opening Saturday at 10 a.m., 237 Somerville Avenue. Hope to see you there." I hit send on the family group chat and waited, heart-pounding. 3 dots appeared as someone typed. Then my sister's response: "We're busy with quarterly planning at the restaurants." I told myself one family member might still come. Then my father's message appeared: "Don't expect support from us. The restaurant industry doesn't need more technology taking away personal connection." My mother, usually the peacemaker, remained silent. Even Julian, who occasionally sent me encouraging private messages, didn't respond. I stared at the screen for several minutes before typing, "All right." What else could I say? After years of trying to earn their approval, their response shouldn't have surprised me. Yet somehow it still hurt like the first rejection. That night I called Eliza, trying to keep my voice steady. "They're not coming." "Then they'll miss seeing something amazing," she replied firmly. "Their loss, Rodolfo. Completely their loss." I tried to believe her as I fell into restless sleep, unaware that across town a local business reporter was putting the finishing touches on a story that would change everything. 3 weeks before our launch, during the beta testing phase, I had received an email from Stephanie Lane, a business reporter for the Boston Globe. She had ordered through our platform while visiting Miguel's restaurant and was intrigued by both the experience and Miguel's enthusiastic explanation of how it differed from other delivery services. "I cover local business innovation," she explained when we met for coffee. "Your approach to this industry seems genuinely different. Would you be open to an interview? Publicity would help our launch," so I agreed, expecting perhaps a small mention in the local business section. The interview lasted nearly 3 hours, with Stephanie asking detailed questions not just about the platform, but about my background. "So your family owns Sabor Autentico," she noted, looking up from her notebook. "That's quite a legacy. How have they influenced your approach to FlavorMatch?" I hesitated, not wanting to air family tensions in the press. "My family has built something remarkable with their restaurants. They've taught me the importance of quality, consistency, and customer experience. I'm just approaching those values through technology rather than traditional restaurant operations." "And how do they feel about your new venture?" "We have different perspectives on the industry," I said carefully. "They excel at the traditional model. I'm exploring new possibilities." Stephanie seemed to sense the undercurrent but didn't press further. Instead, she asked to see the platform in action, try the food from our test restaurants, and speak to some of the beta users and restaurant partners. I connected her with Miguel and 2 other restaurant owners who had been particularly satisfied with the beta. The morning of our launch arrived with perfect fall weather, crisp and sunny. Despite my family's rejection, I felt a cautious optimism as Eliza and I arrived at the office at 7 a.m. to make final preparations. By 9:30, a small crowd had already gathered outside, mostly friends, beta users, and partner restaurants. When we opened the doors at 10, I was shocked to see the sidewalk filled with people. Among them was Miguel, who had brought his entire kitchen staff. "We closed for the morning to be here," he explained, hugging me. "This could change everything for restaurants like mine." Within an hour, the space was packed. A local television crew showed up, having heard about the event from someone in the crowd. Journalists from tech blogs circulated, asking questions and taking photos. The demonstration kitchen hosted continuous 5-minute tutorials from partner chefs showing how the community features worked. By noon, we had signed up over 300 new users and added 15 restaurants to our platform. The energy was electric, with people actually cheering when we demonstrated the transparency feature, showing how much more money went to restaurants compared to other services. I was speaking with a group of potential investors when Eliza rushed over, clutching a newspaper. "Rodolfo, you need to see this." The front page of the Boston Globe's business section featured a large photo of me in our demonstration kitchen, surrounded by chefs from our partner restaurants. Above it, the headline read, "Restaurant Dynasty Air launches revolutionary app that could change food delivery forever." The comprehensive article detailed FlavorMatch's innovative features, the problems it solved, and the enthusiastic response from early restaurant partners. Stephanie had quoted Miguel, calling it the first delivery platform actually created with restaurants in mind, not despite them. But what would truly infuriate my family was the middle section of the article titled, "Breaking from Tradition, Martinez Makes His Own Way." Rodolfo Martinez represents the third generation of a Boston restaurant empire, the article read. While his siblings followed the traditional path into the family business, Martinez saw an opportunity to address critical problems in the restaurant industry through technology. "The food delivery system is broken," Martinez explains. "It's hurting the very restaurants it claims to help. I wanted to create something that preserves what makes dining special: connection, quality, and community, while embracing the convenience technology can offer." Stephanie had included quotes from our restaurant partners praising the model, and even a brief statement from Diane Winters explaining why she had invested. Rodolfo Martinez understands both technology and restaurants in a way few as entrepreneurs do. He has the unique perspective of growing up in the industry while developing expertise in tech. That combination has allowed him to see solutions others have missed. The article concluded by noting the contrast between my approach and the traditional Martinez restaurants. While Sabor Autentico continues to excel in the traditional dining space, the younger Martinez is pioneering what might be the future of the industry, proving that innovation and tradition can both honor the same values of quality and connection. It was a glowing piece that positioned FlavorMatch as both innovative and respectful of culinary traditions. Under normal circumstances, it would have been a publicity dream. But as I stood there, reading, all I could think about was my family's reaction when they saw their name and business mentioned so prominently in connection with mine, especially after explicitly withholding their support. "They're going to be furious," I murmured to Eliza. "You didn't say anything disrespectful," she pointed out, "and you didn't seek this out." She was right, but she didn't understand my family dynamics. This public connection between their precious brand and my venture without their permission would feel like betrayal, regardless of how positive the coverage was. I tried to refocus on the successful launch, but the knowledge of what was likely happening across town at my family's headquarters cast a shadow over the day's triumphs. My phone remained silent, no calls or messages from family members, which only confirmed they had seen the article and were too angry to even confront me. As the launch event wound down around 6 p.m., with every metric exceeding our projections, I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was bracing for the storm I knew was coming. The storm broke at 7:15 the next morning. My phone buzzed with a call from Amanda, the first direct contact from any family member in weeks. "How dare you?" she hissed when I answered, her voice tight with controlled fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Good morning to you too, Amanda," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I assume you saw the article." "Everyone saw the article. The entire Boston restaurant community is talking about how the Martinez Air is revolutionizing food delivery. As if our family business is somehow outdated and needs your tech gimmicks to stay relevant." That's not what the article said. "Dad has called an emergency family meeting at the house. 2 p.m. Be there." She hung up without waiting for a response. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone still in hand. This was the reaction I had expected, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. For a brief moment, I had allowed myself to hope that seeing the positive press might soften their stance, might make them proud, despite themselves. When I arrived at my parents' house, the atmosphere was frigid. My mother opened the door without her usual hug eyes downcast as she led me to the formal living room. There sat my father in his leather armchair, looking like a judge about to pass sentence. Amanda stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Julian perched uncomfortably on the sofa, studying the pattern of the oriental rug. "Explain yourself," my father said without preamble. I took a deep breath. There's nothing to explain. I started a business. A reporter found it interesting enough to write about. I didn't seek out the publicity. "You used our name," Amanda interjected. "You traded on the Martinez reputation to get attention for your little app." I didn't mention our family at all. The reporter made that connection herself. My father leaned forward. "You should have declined the interview the moment she brought up Sabor Autentico. We've spent 40 years building this brand, and now you've associated it with some unproven technology that will probably fail within a year like most startups." Each word landed like a small knife. Not "congratulations on your launch." Not "the article made your business sound interesting." Just the certainty of my failure and concern about their reputation. "FlavorMatch isn't unproven," I countered. "We've been developing and testing it for 18 months. Our beta restaurant saw significant improvements in profitability. Until the novelty wears off," Amanda dismissed. "Food delivery is a fad that cheapens the dining experience. It's fast food masquerading as quality cuisine. That's exactly the problem I'm trying to solve. Current delivery models do damage the experience. But it doesn't have to be that way. The world is changing, and restaurants need to adapt." My father stood abruptly. "The Martinez restaurants don't need to adapt to passing trends. We've succeeded for 2 generations by focusing on timeless quality and personal service. What you're doing isn't innovation. It's chasing the latest Silicon Valley fad at the expense of real culinary values." The conversation deteriorated from there. My mother remained silent throughout, occasionally throwing me glances that mixed disappointment with something else, perhaps a hint of curiosity or suppressed pride. Julian spoke only when directly addressed, offering non-committal responses that carefully avoided taking sides. As the meeting stretched into its second hour, the threats began. "I've built relationships with every significant restaurateur in this city," my father declared. "One word from me about how this platform undermines restaurant independence, and you'll lose half your potential partners," Amanda added. "And the Boston Restaurant Association would be very interested to hear about the predatory commission structure you're probably hiding behind your transparency marketing." "Our commission structure is the lowest in the industry," I protested. "That's the whole point." But they weren't listening. They had constructed a narrative where I was the traitor using family connections to build something that threatened their way of life. The final blow came as I was leaving. My mother, finally breaking her silence, followed me to the door with tears in her eyes. "Rodolfo, please," she whispered. "Just apologize to your father. Shut down this project and come back to the family business. There's still a place for you." Her words hurt more than my father's anger or Amanda's contempt. She genuinely believed I should abandon my dream to restore family harmony. "I can't do that, Mom," I said gently. "I've built something I believe in." The next weeks brought escalating hostility. My father's threats proved real. 3 restaurants that had committed to joining FlavorMatch after our launch suddenly backed out, each offering vague explanations about reconsidering their delivery strategy. Amanda began spreading subtle misinformation within their restaurant network. I heard from Miguel that questions were being raised about our data security and the fine print in our contracts issues we had specifically designed to be industry-leading in their fairness and transparency. The most devastating blow came when my father apparently contacted Diane Winters directly. She called me uncomfortable but determined to address the situation. "Rodolfo, I received a call from Carlos Martinez yesterday," she began. "He had some concerns about your experience and judgment." My stomach dropped. "What did he say?" "He suggested your understanding of the restaurant industry is outdated since you've never actually worked in the family business. He also implied that you've exaggerated the beta test results." I closed my eyes, fighting to keep my voice steady. "None of that is true. The data we presented is meticulously documented." "I believe you," Diane assured me. "I don't make investment decisions based on phone calls." But I thought you should know what's happening behind the scenes. The sabotage grew more direct. During a crucial demonstration for a group of potential restaurant partners, our app experienced mysterious technical glitches that hadn't appeared in any testing. Amir discovered signs of a sophisticated attempt to access our servers, not quite hacking, but the digital equivalent of someone rattling all the doors and windows. "Could your family hire someone to do this?" he asked hesitantly. I wanted to say no immediately, but Julian had majored in computer science before our father pushed him toward business. He had the knowledge, if not necessarily the inclination, to cause such problems. The situation reached its breaking point when a devastating review appeared on an influential local food blog. The piece questioned everything from our business model to my personal integrity, citing industry insiders who suggested FlavorMatch was built on stolen ideas and misleading promises. The writing style and specific criticisms mirrored talking points I'd heard from Amanda during the family meeting. 6 weeks after our promising launch, FlavorMatch was fighting for survival. New restaurant signups had stalled. The angel funding was dwindling. Team morale was sinking as each day brought new obstacles that seemed too coordinated to be coincidental. I hit my emotional rock bottom one rainy night, sitting alone in the darkened office after everyone had gone home. The financial projections on my screen showed a company running out of runway, all because my own family would rather see me fail than succeed on my own terms. Driven by a mixture of desperation and simmering anger, I drove to my parents' house. It was nearly 11 p.m., but lights still shone from the kitchen. My father was a notorious night owl, often reviewing restaurant reports until the early hours. He answered the door in his bathrobe, surprise flickering across his face, before settling back into the stern mask he now wore whenever we met. "It's late, Rodolfo. We need to talk, Dad. Now." He led me to his study, the walls lined with awards and photos, documenting the Martinez restaurant success story. I noticed with a pang that family photos, including me, had been removed, leaving conspicuous empty spaces on the shelves. "What could possibly be so urgent?" he asked, settling behind his massive desk. "I know what you've been doing. The calls to our restaurant partners, the conversation with our investor, possibly even the technical attacks on our platform." He didn't deny any of it. "I'm protecting our family's reputation and business interests by destroying mine, your own son's company, a company that threatens everything we've built. Every order through your app is potentially one less table at our restaurants." The absurdity of his statement momentarily stunned me. "That's not how it works. We're not competitors, Dad. FlavorMatch helps restaurants reach customers who want delivery, a completely different market segment. Today, perhaps. But you're changing consumer behavior, training people to expect restaurant-quality food in their living rooms. Where does that end?" I realized then that his opposition wasn't just about family loyalty or tradition. It was fear. Fear of a changing industry he didn't fully understand and couldn't control. "The world is changing with or without FlavorMatch," I said more gently. "I'm trying to ensure that change benefits restaurants rather than exploits them. By publicly separating yourself from your family. By implying our approach is outdated." "I never said that." The reporter drew her own conclusions. His fist came down hard on the desk. "You should have declined the interview. You should have consulted us before launching this business. You should remember where you came from and who made your opportunities possible." The conversation spiraled into the most heated argument we'd ever had. Years of accumulated resentment poured out from both sides, my frustration at never being accepted on my own terms, his anger at what he perceived as rejection of the family legacy. The breaking point came when he issued an ultimatum: shut down FlavorMatch and return to the family business, or consider yourself no longer part of this family. Even expecting his opposition, the finality of the statement shocked me. "You would disown your son over a business disagreement." His expression hardened. "If you choose this path over your family, then you are no longer my son." I stood there staring at this man who had loomed so large throughout my life. For the first time, I saw not the imposing, infallible patriarch, but a frightened man, unable to accept change, clinging to control, even at the cost of his relationship with his child. "Then I guess we have nothing more to discuss," I said quietly, turning to leave. As I walked out of my childhood home, The rain soaking through my jacket matched the cold emptiness spreading inside me. Everything I had feared had come to pass. I had lost my family. And now it seemed I would lose my business too. The following week brought crisis after crisis. 2 more restaurants canceled their partnerships with FlavorMatch. Our user growth stalled. A planned meeting with a venture capital firm that could have provided crucial funding was suddenly postponed indefinitely without explanation. The breaking point came during a demonstration for a restaurant association. In the middle of showing how our transparency features worked, the app crashed completely. Not a minor glitch, but a total system failure that left me standing awkwardly before a room of skeptical restaurant owners. Later that afternoon, Amir confirmed my worst fears. Someone accessed our development server last night. The code was deliberately corrupted. Could it be traced? I asked already, guessing the answer. The attack was sophisticated. They covered their tracks well. He hesitated. Rodolfo, this wasn't random. Someone with insider knowledge targeted specific vulnerabilities. The implication hung in the air. Only someone who knew our system architecture could have executed such a precise attack. The circle of people with that knowledge was small. Our development team, a few close advisors, and Julian. My brother had stopped by the office once during development, expressing what seemed like genuine interest in the technical aspects. I couldn't bear to voice the suspicion. The thought that my own brother might have actively sabotaged my business made me physically ill. That night alone in my apartment, I hit rock bottom. The business I had poured my savings, time, and heart into was collapsing. My family had not just withdrawn support. They were actively working against me. Even Eliza's unwavering encouragement couldn't pierce the cloud of defeat surrounding me. I sat on my balcony until 3 a.m. staring at the Boston skyline, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. Part of me wanted to give in to call my father and accept his terms. The family business offered security, a clear path, and the restoration of relationships that had defined my entire life. But another voice, quieter but more insistent, reminded me of why I had started FlavorMatch. I genuinely believed in creating something that could help restaurants thrive in a changing world. Surrendering now wouldn't just mean personal defeat. It would abandon all the restaurant owners like Miguel who had put their trust in my vision. As dawn broke over the city, I made my decision. I would fight not against my family but for my business and the principles behind it. If FlavorMatch failed, it wouldn't be because I gave up. I arrived at the office early, surprising the few team members who had already written off the company. With new determination, I called an emergency meeting. "We've been under attack," I said bluntly when everyone had gathered. "And it's working. We're running out of money, losing partners, and facing technical sabotage." The room was silent, faces reflecting the despair I had felt the previous night. "But we still have 3 things," I continued. "A product that actually solves real problems, data proving it works, and a team that built something remarkable. I'm not ready to surrender that because of opposition, no matter where it comes from." Over the next 10 hours, we developed what I called our survival plan. We would focus exclusively on independent restaurants that operated outside my family's sphere of influence. We would rebuild our technical infrastructure with enhanced security, and most importantly, we would embrace the narrative that had been forced upon us. "They've positioned us as the underdog, challenging the status quo," I explained. "So let's be exactly that. Openly, proudly, and without apology." That afternoon, as we were reworking our marketing strategy, I received an unexpected text. "Coffee urgent. Need to talk." It was from Julian. My first instinct was to ignore it, suspecting another attack disguised as reconciliation. But curiosity won out, and I agreed to meet at a neutral coffee shop downtown. Julian was already there when I arrived, nervously shredding a napkin at a corner table. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, expensive suit slightly rumpled. "Are you here as a brother or a spy?" I asked coldly, not bothering with greetings. He winced. "I deserve that, but I'm here to help Rodolfo. Like you helped, by accessing our servers." His head snapped up. "I would never do that. Is that what you think of me? The genuine shock in his expression gave me pause. Someone with inside knowledge attacked our system. The list of possibilities isn't long. It wasn't me, he insisted, but I think I know who it was. Amanda hired a tech consultant last month supposedly to improve our online reservation system, but I overheard her giving him very specific instructions about checking security vulnerabilities in a competing platform. The pieces clicked into place. Amanda had always been more aggressive than our father in business matters, and she had the budget authority to hire outside help without detailed oversight. Why are you telling me this? I asked, still suspicious. Julian leaned forward, lowering his voice. Because this has gone too far. Dad and Amanda aren't just withholding support, they're actively trying to destroy something you built. That's not protecting the family business. It's just vindictive. And you're suddenly taking my side. His eyes dropped to the table. I've always admired you, Rod. You had the courage to pursue what you actually wanted. I gave up my dreams because I couldn't handle Dad's disappointment. Every time I see you fighting for your vision, it reminds me of what I surrendered. The sincerity in his voice was impossible to fake. This wasn't the polished corporate Julian who appeared at family functions. This was the brother I had grown up with, the one who used to sneak into my room to play video games when our father banned them as wastes of time. I want to help, he continued. I have access to information resources. I can warn you about what they're planning next. It was a turning point. After weeks of feeling completely isolated from my family, here was a brother extending a hand. But trusting him meant risking everything. How do I know this isn't just another strategy to undermine FlavorMatch? You don't, he admitted. But I'm not asking for access to your company or confidential information. I'm offering to share what I know about their plans. You can decide whether to trust the information. It was a reasonable proposal. And despite everything, looking at my brother's face, I wanted to believe him. All right, I said, finally. But at the first sign you're playing both sides, we're done. Completely. Julian nodded, relief washing over his features. That's fair. And Rodolfo, what you've built, it's actually really impressive. The article wasn't wrong about it being revolutionary. That small validation from a family member, the first I had received, affected me more than I wanted to admit. As we parted, a tiny spark of hope rekindled. If Julian could see value in FlavorMatch, perhaps there was a path forward after all. Julian's support proved genuine and invaluable. He began sending me regular updates about family business discussions that involved FlavorMatch, giving us critical time to prepare defenses against new attacks. When Amanda planned to contact our remaining restaurant partners with misleading information about our financial stability, we were able to reach out to them first with transparent data and reassurances. Eliza, meanwhile, helped me recover from the emotional devastation of my father's ultimatum. Your worth isn't determined by his approval, she reminded me daily. And your business doesn't need the Martinez name to succeed. With new determination, our small team implemented multiple strategies simultaneously. Amir and his developers rebuilt our infrastructure with enhanced security that would prevent future attacks. We moved our servers to a different provider and implemented advanced encryption and monitoring systems. Rather than hiding from the family drama narrative, our marketing team decided to leverage it. We launched a campaign centered on independence and innovation. Sometimes revolution starts within. Without directly mentioning my family, the message resonated with independent restaurant owners who had felt overlooked by major chains and traditional industry players. Miguel became our most passionate advocate, speaking at local business events about how FlavorMatch had increased his profits while reducing the stress of managing deliveries. This platform was built by someone who actually listens to restaurant owners, became his constant refrain. Not by tech bros who see food as just another commodity. His enthusiasm spread through the tight-knit community of independent restaurant owners, many of whom had long resented the dominance of established restaurant groups like my family's. They began signing up at an increasing rate, seeing FlavorMatch as an ally in their own David versus Goliath struggles. The local tech community rallied around us as well. Boston's startup ecosystem was small enough that word had spread about the suspected corporate sabotage. Several experienced developers volunteered their time to help strengthen our systems. A respected tech incubator offered us discounted office space with better security. 6 weeks after my confrontation with my father, we secured a crucial win. Diane Winters not only maintained her investment, but introduced us to her network of angel investors. At a pitch event hosted in her home, I presented our updated business plan and recent growth metrics to a dozen potential investors. What you're seeing is a business that has been tested by fire, I told them. We faced opposition that would have destroyed most startups, and we've emerged stronger. Every aspect of our product and operation has been refined through adversity. 3 investors committed funds that evening, providing enough runway for at least 12 months of operation and growth. For the first time since the launch, I could focus on building rather than merely surviving. With secure funding and growing restaurant participation, we implemented several features that had been in our original vision, but delayed by the crisis. The community aspect of the platform flourished with video content from local chefs becoming unexpectedly popular. Customers didn't just order food. They learned about its preparation, cultural significance, and the stories behind the restaurants. Our user numbers began climbing steadily. Local food bloggers, the legitimate ones, not those influenced by my family, wrote enthusiastic reviews. A technology magazine included FlavorMatch in its Startups to Watch list. The turning point in public perception came when a national business podcast featured a segment on innovation in food delivery. They compared the major players in the space, analyzing commission structures and restaurant satisfaction. FlavorMatch ranked first in restaurant approval and second in customer satisfaction despite our limited geographical reach. 4 months after our troubled launch, we reached profitability in the Boston market. A rare achievement for a startup at our stage. We began receiving partnership inquiries from restaurants in neighboring cities, prompting discussions about regional expansion. Throughout this period, my contact with most of my family remained severed. My mother occasionally sent brief neutral text messages. "Hope you're well," or saw rain in the forecast drive carefully, her way of maintaining some connection. Without defying my father, Amanda remained completely silent. Julian and I met regularly, though always in locations far from family haunts. The most surprising development came when a major national restaurant chain contacted us about a potential partnership. Their head of innovation had been following our growth and recognized that our model could help them compete in the delivery space without cannibalizing their dine-in business. "We've tested every delivery platform on the market," their executive told me during our initial call. "Yours is the only one that truly understands both sides of the equation, what restaurants need and what customers want." As we prepared for this potential game-changing partnership, I found myself in a position I had never anticipated. FlavorMatch was succeeding not despite my family's opposition, but in some ways because of it. Being forced to find alternative paths had led us to stronger allies and more innovative solutions. One evening, as Eliza and I celebrated a successful meeting with the national chain, she asked the question that had been hovering unspoken between us. "If your family came around now and wanted to support FlavorMatch, would you let them?" I considered carefully before answering. 6 months ago, their approval was everything I wanted. Now, I'm not sure it matters in the same way. I'd welcome reconciliation as family, but FlavorMatch has found its own path. The realization was liberating. I had built something valuable that stood on its own merits, not on the Martinez name. The business had developed its own identity distinct from both my family's traditions and my reaction against them. With this newfound confidence, I made a decision that surprised even me. I would reach out to my family one more time, not from a position of seeking approval, but from one of strength and authenticity. Whatever their response, I would know. I had extended a hand from a place of confidence rather than need. I drafted an email to my father, mother, Amanda, and Julian. FlavorMatch is expanding to New York next month. Whatever our differences, we're all passionate about creating exceptional food experiences. My door remains open if you ever want to see what we've built. Julian responded immediately with enthusiasm. My mother sent a brief congratulations. From my father and Amanda, there was only silence. But for the first time, their silence didn't feel like a weight crushing my spirit. It was simply their choice, one that reflected their limitations, not mine. 6 months after the newspaper article that had triggered such chaos, FlavorMatch had transformed from a struggling startup into a regional success story. We had expanded to 4 cities across New England, with plans for New York and Philadelphia launches already in motion. Our user base had grown to over 75,000 active customers, and we partnered with more than 300 restaurants. The true validation came when a major investment firm approached us with an offer that would have seemed impossible during those dark early days, $20 million, for a minority stake valuing the company at nearly 100 blank million. The terms would leave me with controlling interest while providing capital for national expansion. As I reviewed the offer with our legal team, I reflected on how dramatically my life had changed. From seeking my family's approval to building something that sophisticated investors considered valuable enough to warrant an 8-figure investment, the journey had transformed not just my career but my sense of self. The first crack in my family's united opposition came unexpectedly. I was working late at the office when our security desk called to announce a visitor, my mother. She stood awkwardly in our reception area, looking both out of place and strangely familiar among the startup's modern decor. When she saw me, she attempted a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I was in the neighborhood, she began, though. We both knew our office was nowhere near her usual haunts. I gave her a tour, watching her expression shift from polite interest to genuine curiosity as I demonstrated the platform and introduced her to team members working late. In the demonstration kitchen, she paused to watch a video of a chef explaining his grandmother's recipe for paella. Coincidentally, the same dish that had been my grandfather's specialty when founding the first Martinez restaurant. "Your grandfather would have loved this," she said quietly. "He always said food was about stories as much as flavors." It was the first time anyone in my family besides Julian had acknowledged any connection between my work and our family's culinary heritage. "Dad doesn't know I'm here," she admitted, as we sat in my office afterward. "He's struggling. The world is changing faster than he can accept." "Is that why you came? Because of Dad?" She shook her head. "I came because I read about your expansion plans. Because I saw that interview you did with the tech magazine. Because," her voice wavered slightly, "because I'm proud of you, Rodolfo. I should have said that sooner." Her words unlocked something that had remained tightly wound within me. My mother had always been the peacekeeper, rarely expressing opinions that might conflict with my father's. Hearing her declare her pride independently meant more than I could have anticipated. A week later came another surprise. Julian announced he wanted to join FlavorMatch officially. "I've been helping informally for months," he pointed out when we met to discuss the possibility. "And honestly, I'm more excited about what you're building than I've ever been about managing restaurants." "Dad will see it as the ultimate betrayal," I warned. Julian's expression hardened. "I'm 30 years old. I gave up music because I was too afraid to disappoint him. I'm not giving up another opportunity because of his inability to accept change." After careful consideration and consultation with our leadership team, I welcomed Julian as our new Director of Restaurant Partnerships. His industry knowledge and connections proved invaluable as we expanded, and his presence sent a powerful message both within the company and to the broader business community. The final shift in family dynamics came from an unexpected source. My father suffered a minor heart attack significant enough to require hospitalization but not life-threatening. Despite everything that had happened, I rushed to the hospital immediately upon hearing the news. I found him looking smaller somehow in the hospital bed monitors, beeping quietly beside him. My mother and Amanda were already there, their surprise at my appearance evident. "You came," my father said simply when he saw me. "Of course I came. You're my father." We didn't discuss business or past arguments. Instead, we talked about neutral topics, the hospital food, a nurse who had attended the same high school as Amanda, the book my father was reading before his hospitalization. It wasn't reconciliation exactly, but it was civil contact after months of silence. 3 weeks later, after my father's release from the hospital, my mother called to invite me to Sunday dinner, the first such invitation since the launch of FlavorMatch. "Your father is reconsidering some things," she said carefully. "The heart attack. It made him think about what really matters." The dinner was awkward but not hostile. Amanda remained cold but refrained from direct criticism. My father, still recovering, spoke little but listened more than I could ever remember him doing in the past. When I mentioned a challenge we were facing with delivery logistics in dense urban areas, he actually offered a thoughtful suggestion based on his experience with restaurant supply chains. It wasn't forgiveness or full acceptance, but it was a beginning, a crack in the wall that had seemed impenetrable months earlier. Over the following weeks, a tentative new relationship began to form. Julian and I attended Sunday dinners when our schedules allowed. My father and I established an unspoken agreement to focus on personal matters rather than business disagreements. Amanda maintained her distance but gradually stopped actively undermining FlavorMatch. The most significant moment came when I brought Eliza to a family dinner for the first time. Watching her charm my mother with questions about traditional recipes and engage my father in a discussion about wine regions, I realized how much I had needed this integration of my personal and family lives, even in its imperfect, somewhat strained form. As FlavorMatch continued to grow, I established a company culture deliberately different from my family's hierarchical business structure. We emphasized collaboration, transparency, and work-life balance. Many employees commented that the office felt like a supportive family, the kind where differences were respected rather than suppressed. In a move that surprised even myself, I established the Martinez Innovation Scholarship for young entrepreneurs from controlling family environments. The annual award provided funding and mentorship to individuals pursuing business ideas opposed by their families. It was my way of transforming a painful personal experience into support for others facing similar challenges. The ultimate validation came when a national business magazine featured FlavorMatch in a cover story titled, "How One Man Revolutionized Food Delivery Against All Odds." The article detailed our journey from struggling startup to industry innovator, including tasteful references to the family tensions that had nearly derailed the company in its early days. The morning the magazine hit newsstands, I received a text from my father, the first he had sent directly since our estrangement. "The article is fair. You've built something significant." Those 9 words, understated as they were, represented a monumental shift. Not enthusiasm, not approval, but acknowledgement of reality, which from my father was perhaps the most I could reasonably expect. At the next Sunday dinner, I brought news of our planned expansion to Chicago and Los Angeles, supported by the recent major investment. As I explained the strategy, my father asked several detailed questions about market research and operational logistics, engaging with the business on its own terms, rather than through the lens of family loyalty. After dinner, he asked me to join him in his study, the same room where months earlier he had essentially disowned me. This time his demeanor was different, less the patriarch rendering judgment, more a fellow businessman discussing strategy. "Your platform is working because you understood something I missed," he said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. "The restaurant business isn't just about the physical space anymore. It's about the experience wherever it happens." Coming from him, this was a significant concession. I accepted it with a simple nod, neither gloating nor seeking further validation. Looking back on the turbulent journey from that first group chat message to national expansion, I've learned that true success isn't measured by external validation, even from those whose approval we most desire. It comes from building something that reflects our authentic values and serves genuine needs. Family relationships are complex tapestries woven from love, expectation, tradition, and change. The tears in that fabric can't always be perfectly mended, but new patterns can emerge if we're willing to see each other as flawed, evolving individuals rather than fixed characters in a predetermined story. The greatest freedom came not when FlavorMatch succeeded financially, but when I stopped needing my family's approval to validate my choices. Ironically, it was only after reaching that point that a new, more authentic relationship with them became possible, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation or rebellion. Today, FlavorMatch continues to grow, transforming how restaurants and customers connect across the country. My relationship with my family remains a work in progress, warmer than during our estrangement, but still marked by occasional tensions when old patterns resurface. But I've found peace in this imperfect resolution. I've created a business that honors the values I learned from my family: quality, connection, and excellence, while expressing them in my own authentic way. And in doing so, I've discovered that legacy isn't something merely inherited. It's something we actively create through the courage to follow our own path. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own vision? How did you handle that difficult balance between honoring your roots and creating your own path? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories about finding success against the odds. Remember, sometimes the people closest to us are the hardest to convince, but staying true to your vision is always worth the struggle. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep building your dreams, even when others don't understand them yet.